The galaxy had known peace for 10,000 years. The great empires traded freely. Warships gathered dust in orbital yards. Diplomats solved problems with words instead of weapons. Every species believed they understood the universe and their place within it. They were wrong. In the Valoran High Council chamber, 12 species gathered as they did every cycle. Ambassador Crix of the Mentari clicked his mandibles nervously. Something felt different today. The air carried a strange weight. His 4 eyes scanned the room, noting that others shared his unease. The Zelfian delegate kept touching her communication device. The Kron warriors stood straighter than usual, their hands near weapons they had not drawn in centuries. High Chancellor Morvix raised his tentacles to begin the session. Before he could speak, every screen in the chamber turned red. Warning symbols flooded across holographic displays. Emergency broadcasts interrupted all frequencies across the known galaxy. A single message appeared in every language known to civilization. It read simply, "The Guardian stirs." Panic spread faster than light itself. Within hours, the oldest archives were opened. Ancient scholars emerged from retirement. Military commanders who had never seen real combat suddenly found themselves in charge of terrified fleets. Everyone searched for answers to the same question. What was the Guardian? The answer lay in records so old that most species had forgotten they existed. Before the current civilizations rose, before the first empires formed, there had been others. The precursors had walked among the stars when most species were still learning to use fire. They had built wonders that modern science could not explain. They had also feared something they called the Guardian. Deep in the forbidden archives of the Mentari homeworld, Scholar Vex found the oldest surviving record. His hands trembled as he translated the ancient text. The words chilled his blood, despite his species having no blood at all. The record spoke of Earth, a small blue planet in an unremarkable system on the outer edge of the galaxy. The precursors had discovered something there, something that made them abandon their greatest achievements and flee to the darkest corners of the universe. Before they vanished, they left a warning. Never approach Earth. Never disturb its inhabitants. Never wake what sleeps in the bones of that world. The precursors had believed that Earth itself was alive. Not in the way planets usually lived, with ecosystems and weather patterns. Earth was something else entirely. It was a prison. A cage built by forces that existed before the universe had rules. Inside that cage slept a creature of impossible power. The Guardian. For billions of years, the Guardian had dreamed. Life arose on Earth, not by accident but by design. Humanity evolved not through random chance, but through purpose. They were the children of the Guardian. They carried its essence in their very cells. As long as they remained on Earth, as long as they stayed connected to their world, the Guardian continued to sleep. But humanity had left Earth. They had spread across the stars. They had carried pieces of the Guardian with them without knowing it. For 300 years, human colonies had dotted the galaxy. Other species had welcomed them. Humans were curious, adaptable, and friendly. They made excellent trading partners and loyal allies. No one understood that each human settlement weakened the prison. No one realized that humanity's expansion was slowly waking the sleeper. Until now. On the colony world of New Haven, a human woman named Sarah Chun felt something strange. She had been working in her garden when a sudden dizziness overtook her. The ground beneath her feet seemed to pulse like a heartbeat. Colors shifted at the edges of her vision. For just a moment, she felt connected to something vast and ancient. Then it passed. Across the galaxy, similar events happened to humans everywhere. Dreams became strange and vivid. Some reported seeing impossible visions. Others felt sudden surges of strength or speed. A few demonstrated abilities that physics said should not exist. The changes were subtle at first. Then they accelerated. The Galactic Council demanded answers. They sent investigators to human worlds. What they found terrified them beyond measure. Human DNA was changing. Something was rewriting their genetic code at a level too deep to understand. The humans themselves seemed unaware of the transformation happening within them. Ambassador James Wheeler stood before the council to address their concerns. He was a career diplomat, skilled at calming fears and building bridges. But even he could not explain what was happening to his own people. He only knew that he felt stronger than ever before. His thoughts moved faster. Problems that once seemed complex now appeared simple. Chancellor Morvix demanded immediate quarantine of all human populations. The motion carried despite Wheeler's protests. Human ships were ordered to return to designated zones. Human colonies faced travel restrictions. Fear had replaced friendship in a matter of days. The quarantine made things worse. Isolated from other species, humans began to change more rapidly. Physical differences emerged. Some grew taller. Others developed unusual eye colors or skin patterns. Most importantly, they began to hear whispers. Faint voices that seemed to come from inside their own minds. The voices spoke of power and purpose. They spoke of the Guardian awakening. On Earth itself, the changes were most dramatic. The planet's weather patterns shifted without explanation. Earthquakes rumbled through stable regions. The oceans churned with new currents. Animals behaved strangely, gathering in vast groups and staring at the sky. Something beneath the surface was moving. Dr. Maria Santos led the scientific team investigating the phenomena. Her instruments detected energy signatures that matched nothing in any database. The readings came from deep within the planet's core. Something down there was generating power on a scale that dwarfed entire stars. Worse, the output was increasing every day. The truth became clear when the first Guardian fragment emerged. In the middle of the Pacific Ocean, the water parted to reveal a structure of impossible geometry. It rose from the depths like a living thing. Metal and crystal and something else entirely combined in forms that hurt to look at directly. The structure reached into the clouds and kept growing. Similar fragments appeared across Earth. They erupted from mountains and deserts and frozen wastelands. Each one pulsed with energy that sensors could not properly measure. Each one broadcast signals that human minds could somehow understand. The Guardian was assembling itself from pieces hidden across the planet for billions of years. Humanity changed completely in those final days. They stopped being afraid. Instead, they felt a strange peace. They understood now why they existed. They knew their purpose at last. They were not merely the children of the Guardian. They were its voice, its hands, its eyes in the material universe. The galactic powers watched in horror as humanity transformed. The people they had known for 3 centuries vanished. In their place stood something new. Humans still looked mostly the same. They still spoke the same languages. But behind their eyes burned a light that had not been there before. They had become connected to each other and to something greater. They had become one mind spread across millions of bodies. Fleet Admiral Crocs commanded the largest armada ever assembled. 12 species had contributed ships. 10,000 vessels gathered at the edge of the Sol system. Their mission was simple: contain the threat before it spread further. If necessary, destroy Earth itself. The fleet advanced with weapons charged and shields at maximum. They expected resistance. They expected battle. What they found was far worse. They found silence. The Guardian rose to meet them. It had finished assembling itself. The fragments had combined into a single entity that defied description. It existed partially in normal space and partially somewhere else. Looking at it caused physical pain. Trying to comprehend it broke minds. The most powerful warships in the galaxy suddenly seemed like toys. The Guardian did not attack. It did not need to. It simply opened its mind to the fleet. Every being on every ship suddenly understood exactly what they faced. They saw the truth of the universe. They learned that their reality was merely one layer of infinite layers. They discovered that forces beyond imagination had crafted existence itself. And they realized that the Guardian was the last surviving protector of this fragile cosmos. Ancient enemies existed beyond the boundaries of known space, entities that fed on reality itself. They had destroyed countless universes before this one. They would destroy countless more after. The precursors had encountered them and known that nothing in the material world could stop them. So they had created the Guardian. They had built humanity to serve as its anchor in physical reality. They had sacrificed everything to give the universe a fighting chance. Admiral Crox lowered his weapons first. The others followed. There was no point in fighting. The Guardian could have destroyed them with a thought. Instead, it offered them a gift. It showed them how to prepare for the coming darkness. It shared knowledge that would have taken millions of years to discover naturally. It welcomed them as allies in a war that transcended everything they had ever known. The fear did not disappear immediately. Trust took time to build, but the galaxy gradually accepted its new reality. Humanity had changed forever. They could no longer be considered a single species in the traditional sense. They were something else now, something connected to powers beyond mortal understanding. Yet they remained human in the ways that mattered. They still loved and laughed and created. They still valued friendship and honor and compassion. The Guardian had not awakened to destroy. It had awakened because the time had finally come. Somewhere in the void between galaxies, the ancient enemy was stirring. The darkness that had consumed universes was turning its attention toward this small corner of existence. The final war would begin soon. This time, the universe would not face the threat alone. Humanity stood ready to serve as the bridge between mortal and cosmic. They had been built for this moment across billions of years of patient preparation. Every human life that had ever existed had contributed to this purpose. Every joy and sorrow, every triumph and failure had shaped them into what they needed to become. Ambassador Wheeler addressed the Unified Council for the final time. His eyes glowed with inner light. His voice carried harmonies that touched the souls of every listener. He spoke of hope and courage. He spoke of standing together against the dark. He invited every species to join humanity in the battle to come, not as servants or subordinates, as partners, as family. The Guardian of Earth had awakened. Terror had spread across the galaxy, but terror gave way to wonder. Wonder gave way to purpose. The lost protector was lost no more, and all of existence was grateful that it had finally opened its eyes. The stars themselves seemed brighter that day. The future held unimaginable challenges. Ancient horrors would soon descend upon reality with hunger that could not be satisfied. But for the first time in cosmic history, the universe had something it had never possessed before. It had defenders who would never surrender. It had guardians who would fight until the last star burned out. Humanity had found its destiny. The galaxy had found its champions. And somewhere in the darkness beyond the edge of everything, the enemy felt something it had never experienced in its eternal existence. For the first time, the destroyers of worlds knew fear.